good friend, Mr. Bumidra, who was on Kobla's staff, has now revealed Kobla hid photographs. He knew the conditions. He misstated it to the United Nations. He misstated it to the United States. He misstated it to the world, except the Iranian and the Iraqi governments. Kobla, in all honesty, is an accessory to a crime, and he needs also to be investigated as to what was his motivation. Interestingly, his wife, Frau Britta Wagner, has now been made ambassador from Germany, and it becomes quite obvious the goal there is to build business relationships between Germany and Iraq and Iran. Every time something happens bad at Camp Liberty, Kobla finds a way to spin it and to turn it around. Even the rocket attack he initially tried to blame as a mortar that had already been in the ground exploded. Well, that didn't work. I made it quite clear in a conference call with State Department, militias do not drive around Iraq with 100 Katyusha rockets in their vehicles. They do not drive around with launching platforms. This was a very precise, coordinated attack. This attack of this precision, this capability, with this much equipment can only come from one organization, and that is the Quds Force. It was a joint operation. The force, working with Maliki's army, brought the rockets in. And I made an assessment then, and when I talked to my friends directly inside Camp Liberty last weekend on the phone, it confirmed. Those rockets were launched on the north, came in from the northwest. Long before I became a military police officer, I started out the Army as an artillery private. I know how to call in artillery. I know how to call in indirect fire. And I could see all the signs were there. Somebody was on Signal Hill watching the rockets hit inside Camp Liberty. Those rockets, the very first one, immediately started achieving kills. For 15 minutes, those rockets were launched. Terrorists fire 1 or 2 rockets and they leave. There's another technology we had in Iraq, and like all technologies and all equipment we were using to fight terrorism, we left it for the Iraqis. Whenever a rocket was launched, we would know before the rocket landed exactly where it was launched from, and we would send our attack helicopters to intercept. The Iraqi government knew exactly where those rockets came from, and the fact that they lasted for 15 minutes, the fact that they had such devastating effects, makes it quite clear this was an Iraqi government operation working with the Quds Force. Now, this organization, Iraqi Hezbollah, stepped up afterwards and said, oh, we did it. It's a front organization. Now, the Koblas immediately embraced that front organization and started saying, oh, yes, this organization did it. One of the arguments we've had, and you have a lot of good American friends that speak in your defense and fight hard for you, too. Former FBI Director Louis Freeh, former Attorney General Michael McCasey, and I had a conversation with State Department, and we told them, where is the attack? And you cannot trust, and we cannot trust the Iraqi government to do it. And the email expression that I used was, trust in Maliki to investigate this attack is like expecting John Gotti, the New York City mobster, to investigate the murder of Big Paulie when Gotti decided he's taken over the mafia, and you'll get the same result. And that's exactly what it is. But the other thing I think we all realize, it's now been over a month, and there is no investigation. Nothing has been written, not a single paper, not a single document. In all honesty, this is the first document that investigated the facts. There will be none. There was no investigation in 2009. There was no investigation in 2011. Why? Because Maliki, and I made this quote before, Maliki does not investigate Maliki, and yet we have the struggle for humanity going on right now inside the Middle East. And what's going on inside the Middle East and going on inside Camp Liberty affects a lot of people well beyond. Here we have 3,200, counting the 100 at Ashraf, soldiers for democracy, giving it all, giving everything they can. Due to the behavior of the husband and wife Kobler team and the U.S. State Department, the risk of another attack is very high. This risk evaluation is even validated by the Koblers and State Department's Baghdad embassy representative, who have continually declined to enter Camp Liberty since the rocket attack. Their reason of refusal is always the same. Camp Liberty is too dangerous to enter. This leaves the residents with one question. If the camp is too dangerous for UN and U.S. State Department personnel to enter, then why should we be forced to stay here inside Camp Liberty? Our friends at Camp Liberty have a very, very valid point. The overwhelming desire of the residents of Liberty is now to return to Camp Ashraf. Despite other hazards, Ashraf has proven itself to be reasonably safe from rocket attacks. Between 1986 and 2009, Ashraf endured 21 rocket attacks. During those 23 years, only one resident died from those rocket attacks. Colonel Sadiq, he has stripped 17,500 T-walls away, as my friend, true friend, Colonel McCloskey has mentioned. Those T-walls make a big difference. He has set up a stronger killing field, and Alan pointed it out correctly. This is premeditation. This is preparing the field for another rocket attack. Sadiq's latest action in removing the T-walls installed by the Americans will ensure future rockets attack achieve maximum deaths and injuries. The denial of helmets and vests ensure maximum head and upper torso injuries. This includes injuries from shrapnel, but also from residents being tossed around during the explosions. Sadiq's refusing to allow the residents to have sandbags further increases their risk. Cement barriers do not absorb the energy of blasts, only deflects. It's time for us to stand up to them now. Both the Koblers need to go, and I'll read this in its entirety. Ban Ki-moon's Mr. Bermuda exposed this. Ban Ki-moon's exposed desire to have a representative working with al-Maliki rather than no representative at all is a very Machiavellian concept. The fact that Germany is trying to build trade relationship with Iran and Iraq does not justify selling out humanity. Chancellor Angela Merkel, above all other national leaders, should understand the wrongs of selling out human life in favor of national prosperity. If she doesn't, then she has lost touch with her own nation's history in the past century. And I submit for what they have done as part of this investigation that I am recommended being done on the Koblers, they should also add an investigation for assisting and taken actions that resulted and helped support the murder of innocent people. They helped set the stage. Martin Kobler didn't fire the rockets. Britta Wagner didn't fire the rockets, but they helped make the environment. And now we look at our friend Hamid over here. He's German. And his problems were developed immediately after the rocket attack. And attempts were made to get him sent back to Germany. Britta Wagner, Frau Kobler, could have easily ordered her staff, get him his passport, get him up to Germany, get him the surgery he needs. Instead, he was left for a month to die. If a comprehensive resettlement cannot be quickly achieved, then the residents need to be returned to Ashraf under the protection of United Nations forces.